Good morning, Ghana. I hope you are all doing well. We are very grateful to be here today. We are very grateful for all of us. And thank you for joining our channel. We apologize for the late start of this program. And before we go on, please remember to share the link and tell a friend to tell a friend about today's discussions. World Food Safety Day is here with us again, and we are commemorating it with the whole world. It's an opportune time for us to discuss pertinent food safety issues and find science-based practical solutions to food safety problems. The most important things that we look out for during food safety is how to prevent and how to reduce the risk of foodborne illness, also known as food poisoning. Now, this year, we are commemorating the World Food Safety Day under the theme, From Burden to Solution, Safe Food Everywhere. This year's theme calls to action the fact that we should look around, look at the burdens caused by foodborne illnesses, the burden of it has on our economy as a country, on families, on markets, and find solutions. It's time for us to look at science-based solutions. It's also an opportune time for us to remind ourselves that food safety is everyone's business, from government officials to farmers to food traders to people in food businesses, all the way to consumers. We all have to bring our hands on deck and work to solving food safety risks and ensuring that our foods are safe and we will all be happy consuming the foods we have in Ghana. Now, at this time of the year, the June rains have peaked and we are seeing floods in Accra quite frequently these days. Now, flood waters cause a lot of problems, not just because it disrupts day-to-day activities, but flood waters also render our foods not quite safe. Now, they do this the flood waters cause food to be unsafe in so many ways. As soon as the flood waters get into our homes, our kitchens, restaurants, on our food contact surfaces, they pose a lot of risks to us. This is because it ends up depositing a lot of microorganisms on our surfaces. We have from Vibrio cholerae to Staphylococcus and so many other pathogens on our food contact surfaces. So we have to be very mindful of this fact at this time of the year and look at what we can do to reduce the risks caused by floodwaters in our food systems. So I'm going to go into what we can do to prevent foodborne illnesses, also known as food poisoning, during this time of the year. But before I go on, please share the link, tell a friend to tell a friend about today's discussions, so that when it's time for questions, more of us will be ready with our questions. Thank you. Now, food safety is important during floods because during floods, the risk of food contamination increases significantly, leading to outbreaks of foodborne diseases if preventive measures are not taken. Any food that has come into direct contact with floodwater, especially cooked food, fresh produce, and foods in damaged packaging, should not be consumed but discarded. I know this is unfortunate when we talk about discarding food, but it is extremely important. This is extremely important. Let us not risk it. Let us not say, oh, we'll just wash the veggies and still consume it. No, 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 no. I'll tell you why shortly. Now, foods such as rice, gari, vegetables, and other bulk commodities, when they come into contact with floodwater, cannot be effectively washed. Even if you wash the rice 5-10 times, You can't get the microorganisms that have been deposited on the surface of the rice or out of it to a safe level that you can safely consume it. The same goes for veggies. We cannot salvage these produce adequately when they've come into contact with floodwaters in a kitchen or anywhere in our markets. So let's just discard them, please, please, please. I know this is difficult for us to hear, but this is very important. As we go on, we'll discuss ways to save these items from being affected with floodwaters when we store them. But as soon as they are affected, we have to discard them. Now, when it comes to canned products, if the canned product is undamaged and yet it has come into contact with floodwaters, we have to try and sanitize it very well. You wash it, you get some sanitizers, you can use vinegar, you can use brine if you are doing this at home. We have certain solutions that are sold for use in the kitchen that can also be used to wash the surfaces of cans before we go ahead and open them and use their contents. Enti ansa na metwaso me pese ni America anopeno membo ne tofa ewo ya ye kasem. Yes, me say ene World Food Safety Day. World Food Safety Day ye celebration amansan nyina a celebrity celebration yedi edia amaya adwen edia twen adwen aba the fact say eduane ye ade a ehu hia ye pint e wo say ye mbo eduane hu ban na ye make sure say obia ohwe eduane so say uye efu say wo market ana wo restaurant say uye obi a wono eduane ana obi a woton eduane ana say ukra na oye customer na wakoto eduane a wo ba bedi e wo say unye wasedi say ubehwe eduane no so ye na wabo eduane no ban asen ye hu say nsuo eto wo nkran pa ansuo a eto so ema floods esi ewo krum ye pese obia ntwina dwen embra eduane a yedi abrea flood affect ye wo krum ansana ye bedidi no e wo se ye check eduane no say baby e free ban flood nsuo na affect na eduane ne bi no say nsuo ne bi egu eduane no ho a ye ntumi nruru eduane no ho ye biom bi wo ho ebeka se o mto osi de se meruru a metumi edi ye eduane sa o se ye nti ase se eduane bi wo ho bi te se salad anamoko a ye twe no eno no unnu antosu no say vegetables bi a se unnu na se flood waters are affecting na ururu no senkra untumi yi yare a flood na atwe aba eduane no ho nyina enti eba ne sa no ye be stress eduane no ye nhwe ngu ma ye use biom emfa ho se na wo benu ano ebi wo ho be kase wo mi di besi jasu mi di be shito de to be si jasu be 1 hour 2 hours enti metumi use yes edru mre bi say na say floods they affect your markets and ye feed ye best say eduane bi wo ho titru vegetables gari wa how hwe gari say the tempo nsuo guso a wo be ne sen then na wo di be ye biu enti yes ano ye best say nanso ye ndwen yapomuden ho na ye nhwe say eduane no say ye canned eduane e wo konkomu dia ye behwe konkono ho ahwe say konkono say say bebia rastia ye betumi aruru kan no ho kama ye de semina ne sapo ene nsuo a ehwe e de aruru kan no ho kama ho cry betumi de nchine nsuo ana vinegar bi e de pepa ho ana e de ruru ho ansa na ye bi na ye use me e wo mbia se milk o se and tomatoes we betumi aye ne se ya enu ho asem na ye ka anope na ye beto aso ansa na meto aso no me stress link a o connect ye channel ya anope no fa link no send bi na saa nipa no so ntie nsɛm a nkɔmɔ a yɛbɔ wɔ han ne no ɔmo mbɛka yɛn ho na yɛmbɔ nkɔmɔ ɛfa aduane ho bambɔ. So during such times when floods affect us, we can be affected by several diseases such as cholera, typhoid fever, hepatitis A, dysentery, and other diarrheal diseases. These can be very serious, life-threatening diseases. So let's watch out for foods. And all these diseases I've mentioned right now are food-borne. They are food-borne illnesses or food-borne diseases, and so they can be transferred through food. Once the food is contaminated with the germs that cause these illnesses, we will have these diseases. Some of them are even communicable. Some of these diseases are communicable diseases. So please, let's watch it. During floods, let's use safe water. Let's wash our hands frequently. Let's clean and sanitize food contact surfaces. Let's cook food thoroughly and discard contaminated foods or foods with damaged packaging. Packaged foods with damaged packaging should be discarded immediately. With the canned foods, I've spoken about it. We can sanitize the cans, but if it comes in a paper packaging and is damaged, let's please discard it. When it comes to food vendors, they should inspect the stock of food they have, discard contaminated products, and sanitize their equipment and premises before they continue to work. They should also get access to potable water before they resume their operations, because when we've been affected by floods many times, some sources of water are affected, such as wells. We know that there are quite a number of people who use wells in their homes locally. So during floods, the well water is contaminated with flood waters that have washed sewage into the well. And so that is no longer or can no longer be considered as a source of potable water. We may need to look to other sources of potable water, such as tap water, in such cases or during such times. Now, flooding affects drinking water. Flood water can contaminate wells, wells, as I said, boreholes, and water distribution systems with very harmful microorganisms, waste materials, and even industrial waste chemicals. This is a very serious phenomenon. Hand washing becomes even more important in times like this. Let us remember to wash our hands with soap, clear running water, clear running potable water in such times. Now this year, when we talk about from burden to solution in flood-prone areas, what we can do is to improve sanitation. We can also look at strengthening food safety awareness, maintaining proper drainage systems, ensuring access to safe water, practicing the 5 keys to safer food, and reporting any suspected foodborne illness to health facilities and the FDA so that investigations can be conducted to prevent the illnesses from escalating. Did you ask what the 5 keys to safer foods is? Oh, great question. Now, the 5 keys to safer food are science-based steps that we are required to take every day, anywhere, to ensure that our foods are always safe. They are very easy things that anyone can remember. The first key is to keep clean. You keep the food environment clean. You keep yourself clean, your hands clean before you eat, before you cook. The second key is to separate raw from cooked foods. Yes, separate raw from cooked foods. Cooked foods are ready to eat. Raw foods can be worked on. They can be washed or cooked to kill germs. So the two must never come into contact. The third key to keeping food safe is to cook food or heat food thoroughly. Yes, cooking and heating thoroughly kills harmful microorganisms in the food. Now, after cooking or heating food thoroughly, the next thing to do, the fourth key, is to keep food at safe temperatures. This is very easy. It simply means to keep hot food hot and cold foods cold. Yes, if the food was cooked and it's hot, let's maintain it hot until we are ready to eat it. If it's a food such as brokina, menim say nyina yepe brokina ne asana ne mashke pa say bibi sadia, it's a cold food and must be kept as such until we are ready to consume it. The fifth key to safer food is to use potable water and good raw materials always. These are very simple. These are very easy to remember. They are science-based and they work to keep food safe all the time. Yes, these are WHO's 5 keys to safer foods, used internationally and used everywhere, from markets to homes, to keep food safe. Now the 2026 World Food Safety theme again during flood, during times like this, during floods. The theme encourages individuals, communities, and institutions to identify food safety challenges caused by floods and implement practical solutions that ensure food is safe and safe food is available everywhere and for everyone. Yes, these are simple things we can do at this time of the year to ensure that our foods remain safe. I will pause here and we will start to have discussions. I will take questions and let us discuss. Once again, share the link and let's have fruitful discussions this World Food Safety Day. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Madam Jepodi Baka. She is the head of the Food Safety and Consumer Education Unit at the Food and Drugs Authority. If you have any questions or have heard any myths about foodborne diseases, now is the perfect time to ask that. She'll be glad to address them. However, we've mentioned washing our hands a lot in this conversation, and I've heard and seen a lot of people say that or ask, do we know how to properly wash our hands? Can you briefly just demonstrate how to properly wash our hands?
All right. So, this is how to properly wash our hands. First, you need soap. And then you need running water. Not water that is still in a container, such as a bowl or a bucket. No. You need running water from a tap or someone pouring the water over your hands. And yes, you need something to dry your hands with when you're done. A clean napkin would do, a tissue would do. So the first thing you do when you are going to wash your hands is to wet your hands. You first wet your hands and then you take the soap, because the soap requires water before its ingredients begin to work on the dirt and the germs in your hands. So you rub your hands thoroughly, inside and the backs of your hands, in between your fingers, not forgetting the thumb. There's nothing you can do without your thumb. Try it. Try holding your mobile phone with just the fingers and no thumb. So remember to wash your thumb. Let's wash our hands all a little way up on our arms, at least till your elbow if you can, but just a little way up would do most times. And then you rinse. Now this should take you just a few seconds. As long as it takes you to sing happy birthday to you is how long it takes to wash your hands. You rinse, you dry, and you're done.
Okay, thank you so much for that beautiful demonstration. I have some few questions here. I think the first one will be, you talked about canned foods, that if they come in contact with flood water, we shouldn't use those. And then there's a question on that. Someone is asking, can I just heat the contaminated canned or packed food rather than just disposing it off? So can I just pour it out, heat it, and then take it in?
So canned foods can be used when they've come into contact with floodwaters, so long as the can is intact. Intact means it's not bloated. There are no visible holes, pinholes or holes in the can. It's not dented and it doesn't look rusty. So long as you don't see any of these signs on the can, you can use it. Just make sure you wash it thoroughly, sanitize it if you can, and you can go ahead and use its contents, whether raw, such as milk, or cooked, such as steamed tomatoes. It can be used.
All right, thank you. So what are some diseases that people can get from contaminated flood water?
Okay, so the diseases are cholera.
Okay.
You can get dysentery. You can get other diarrheal diseases. Also typhoid fever is common during flood times. So we should watch out for these. And these are foodborne illnesses, the ones I've mentioned.
Okay. So who is most at risk from foodborne diseases after flooding?
After flooding, unfortunately, everyone is most at risk. However, when we talk about risk factors, we always, at the top of the list are pregnant women, the very young, and the very old, and people who already have underlying health issues. They are most prone to foodborne illnesses because of the nature of their immune systems. Yes.
Okay. During the flooding, a lot of houses, unfortunately, got submerged. I've seen a lot of people, few of the videos that we've seen online. People actually use these floodwaters as a swimming pool. They jump and then catch or and then enter inside the water swimming. What do you think of that?
Even as the two of us are smiling over it, it is an extremely dangerous thing to do. It is extremely dangerous because floodwaters have a lot going on in them. Okay, floodwaters contain sewage. They contain waste from animals. They contain fecal matter from both human and animals. Because let's picture it. It rains and the whole place is flooded. The gutters are flooded. So the water mixes with whatever is in the gutter.
Right.
It mixes with whatever is at the dumping site, and all this comes up to the surface and washes into our homes. Can you imagine yourself swimming in a gutter? If you cannot imagine yourself swimming in a gutter, please do not attempt to swim in flood waters. It is not hygienic. Let's flip. So at this point, we can just put food safety aside. It is not hygienic. There's a lot in the flood water that can affect you. It can affect your skin. You can end up taking it, as you swim, you open your mouth, swallow some of the water. Could you drink gutter water?
Of course not. So I know a lot of people say that, or try, I don't know if it's still there, but when we have food, for us to see whether it's contaminated or not, or tell, we either smell it or taste a bit just to tell whether it is actually contaminated or not. So can contaminated food be identified by taste or smell?
Yes and no.
Okay.
So sometimes smell, yes. You can smell, you can have an off odor or a bad smell from a food, and that obviously tells you it's not good for you to eat. That's with the smell. So other times it smells good. So you smell it, yes, but the smell wouldn't give you any indication that the food has been contaminated. It will smell perfect. Take a fruit that has come into contact with floodwaters. If it's banana, it will still smell like banana.
Right.
If it's an apple, it will still smell like an apple. Can you wash it thoroughly enough after the flood waters have come into contact with it to consume it? Think about it. Gutter water touching an apple, wash it. Would you be okay eating it? So it will smell all right. It will look all right. That's why I say yes and no. If you see that it has like worms or something, obviously you wouldn't eat it. But many times we cannot identify food contamination by mere sight or smell. Most times we cannot.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so there's a question on what precautions should food vendors take after flooding?
Okay, so food vendors should inspect what they already have in stock. Make sure if it's bulk food like gari, rice, veggies, as I mentioned, they would have to discard it, unfortunately. If it's a packaged product, they should check if the package is intact. If the package has been damaged, they will have to discard it. If it's intact, they can clean the surface of the package, as I said with canned foods, and go ahead and use it. They should wash and sanitize their food contact surface. Now, food contact surfaces are any surface that a food will touch. So a knife is a food contact surface. A chopping board is a contact surface. A saucepan is a contact surface. So these must be thoroughly washed and sanitized from the flood waters, aka gutter and sewage waters,
Right.
all right, before they use. Yes, these are some things. And yeah, one more thing, they have to make sure they have potable water. Unfortunately, whatever water they might have kept stored may be affected, contaminated by the flood water. So they will have to look for other sources. Most times the municipal water is okay in times like this.
Okay, so now let's go back to consumers. So how can consumers also identify food premises that are operating safely?
Okay. So they can check that these operators have a license from the FDA. If it's a food vendor, a street food vendor, they can check for the street food vending permits. If it's a restaurant, they can check for the hygiene permits. It must be displayed in plain sight. In restaurants, it must be displayed at the front desk or where you make your orders. So once you see this, you have the assurance and check that it's not expired. It's up to date. So once you check, you can be assured that FDA has inspected the facility, and that mark, that document that they've pasted is telling you that we can certify that the operations of that vendor is safe and you can go ahead and consume their food. In the absence of that, think about the 5 keys. Look for the 5 keys. Check where you are buying from. Is it clean? Remember we said the first is keep clean. So if the food environment, the person serving the food, selling the food appears hygienic, they are behaving in a hygienic manner. So hygienic behavior is things such as not scratching oneself. You can't go scratch your hair and then put your hands into food. So when you check that the place is clean, the food is hot, they've kept hot food hot at right temperatures, you can have some level of assurance that the food will be safe and go ahead and buy.
Okay. So for now, a lot of communities are facing power outages. So I think the question is, how long should fruits, vegetables, and cooked foods stay in the fridge during a power outage for you to say, okay, this is good or this needs to be disposed of?
Thank you. I love this question. All right. So when it comes to power outages and food safety in our refrigerators, now every food has the length of time that it can be kept in a fridge, whether the fridge is on or off. So there's no one time, okay, to cover all foods, because you can imagine foods are vastly different. From milk to veggies to meats, so different. So I can't say now this length of time or that length of time for all the different foods. However, if it's perishable like vegetables and your refrigerator is off, we request that you use it as soon as possible. Don't leave it for another 24 hours if the lights are not back. If it's something that is in the freezer, then, and it's not thawed, it still has ice in it, it can be kept there for a little longer than the 24 hours, so long as it's still quite chill. If it's something in the fridge, maybe say milk, and the light goes off this morning, we advise that you transfer the milk from the fridge into the freezer.
Okay.
Because the freezer is more chilled, that milk can stay till evening or even till the next morning, so long as you don't keep opening the freezer too frequently. All right, so these are things you can do. Just make sure that if it's a fresh food produce, a cooked food, meat, milk, or high protein foods, you consume it within 24 hours if your lights do not come back. Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. So there's a question on YouTube from Sandra Obiri. She's saying here, good presentation there. Can the expert explain in layman terms how and what a street food vendor can use to sanitize?
Okay, so for everyday life, we can use, or they can use, brine. Brine is extremely salty water. That's in layman's terms. Brine means extremely salty water. So it's water that you've put so much salt in to the extent that the salt no longer dissolves. So it's dissolved, you've added more, it's dissolved, you added more, and finally the salt doesn't dissolve anymore. It means the water is like saturated with salt. So you can use that to sanitize your surfaces, or you can use vinegar to sanitize your surfaces.
Okay, Sandra, I hope that answers your question. So, moving away from that, I wanted to ask, so what is the FDA doing to ensure food safety after flooding?
Okay, so this is the first thing we are doing. We are talking. We want people to, we want us all to understand that flood times are not like everyday life. It's a time for you to sit up and, let your attention go to these things that we are discussing today. And that's the first thing FDA is doing. We are sensitizing various communities that the floods have affected. We are out there in the community. So it's not just NADMO and other agencies, but FDA staff are also out in the city in areas that floods have affected. We are liaising with the companies that see to our water, to ensure that the water that we are using, our citizens are using for their food processing or for consumption, are safe. Okay, this is not directly our job, but we are liaising with the government agencies in charge of municipal water and others to ensure that there's potable water available for all citizens. We are also intensifying our surveillance because the floodwaters have affected some of our markets. So we've intensified surveillance in our local markets to ensure that food items that have been affected in the markets will be sorted out. Those that can be salvaged, such as canned packaged foods, will be salvaged. Those that have to be disposed of are disposed of safely. Sometimes when you dispose of something, someone else may go and pick it thinking, oh, this looks good. Why did they throw it away? I need it.
Right.
So we make sure there's safe disposal of such food items so that no one picks it and still consumes it and falls sick.
Okay.
These are some of just a few things that we are doing.
Okay, that's right. So again, how can the public report unsafe food or unhygienic food premises?
So we request that you kindly call our hotline, the FDA's hotline, or any of our numbers that will come up on the screen when we are done.
Yes.
And report such facilities or any incidences, including foodborne illnesses that anyone suffers after flooding, to the authority.
Okay. And what advice does the FDA have for households affected by flood?
So we advise that all the things we've discussed here today, you try and adhere to them. Inspect your surfaces, sanitize, wash and sanitize. Wash and sanitize your surfaces and items. Discard any food items that have been contaminated. Wash your hands thoroughly. Observe the 5 keys to safer foods even more during such times. And if you are eating out, please check where you are buying the food from before you eat out.
Okay, let me just mention the numbers that can be used to report any food or safety issues. This is 055 111 2223. I repeat, 055 111 2223. Also 055 111 2224. I repeat again, 055 111 2224. Also 055 111 2225. I repeat again, 055 111 2225. If you have if you want to contact the FDA or report any issues with regards to mandates, you can just contact these lines, or you can just leave a message to us on any of our social media platforms. Please keep your questions coming. We would answer them. If you have any questions with regards to flood water and how to keep safe, how to keep your food safe, and how to be hygienic, you can just leave your questions under this or any of our social media platforms, and we'll answer them in due course. So, Madam Jibodi, apart from that, do you have anything else to say to the public with regards to our conversation today?
Yes, I want us to all remember that food safety is a shared responsibility. Food safety is not the responsibility of the regulatory agencies alone, such as FDA or veterinary services when it comes to our meat products, or plant protection agency when it comes to fresh fruits and vegetables. No, it is a shared responsibility. Now, the agencies cannot police everyone every time. Yes, we will do our jobs. We would go out and inspect and do post-market surveillance and sensitization and all the activities we do on a daily basis. However, at the end of the day, before the food goes into your mouth as a consumer, it's your responsibility to ensure that the food is safe. If you are a vendor in the market, so long as the food is in your hands at your vending point, it is your responsibility at that point. If you are transporting any food item, be it imported, be it from our local farms, be it finished food, that ready to eat food from a restaurant that you are delivering via motorbike, it is your responsibility at that point to ensure that the food is kept safe. If you are moving it, if it's hot, it should remain hot. If it's cold, it should remain cold in refrigeration. If you are a farmer, it's your responsibility to ensure that when the produce has been harvested, before it gets to the market and the consumer, you do whatever you have to do to prevent any form of contamination. If you are using chemicals as a farmer or in a pack house, you have to ensure you are using the right kind of chemicals. If you are doing ripening that we hear about so frequently these days, use the right chemical for ripening, not things like carbide, and use the right dosages. Apply the chemicals in the proper way.
Okay.
So it's everyone's business. It's everyone's prerogative. Everyone has a role to play as far as food safety is concerned. This is very important to us as a nation. Let us remember that apart from food safety, meaning that no one falls sick after eating, it also promotes our economy. We have restaurants, we have hotels in this country, we have visitors from other countries in Ghana. If they will eat in Ghana and fall sick, this will reduce tourism in this country. This will reduce our income. We export food products from Ghana. If we do not take good care of the foods that we are manufacturing, or if they are raw produce that we are exporting from Ghana, if we do artificial ripening and export and then use it for, say, fruit juice and export it, and this gets out there, and these foods are contaminated, it's going to affect international trade. It will greatly affect the whole nation. Finally, the burden of foodborne illness on the nation will increase when we continue to fall sick after eating. The burden of foodborne illness means that when people fall sick, the amount of money that the country will lose as a nation. So that person who is falling ill after eating may be a breadwinner. So that person will not be able to work for that period that he or she is ill. So that will mean a taxpayer is losing money. Hence, the country is losing money. Our health systems that will have to take care of this person when they are sick and visiting health facilities, there is going to be an economic burden on the health system. And all this comes together as the burden of foodborne illness on the nation. So it affects so many things, okay, in the nation when we do not take good care of our foods. I know sometimes, as you know, cultural practices, we are used to certain things. We buy food from the street. It's okay to see someone holding smoked fish on a tray in the open, and there's dust and flies and so many things around. But let's try and remember that, okay, that was what we knew in the past. Now we know better. Science has taught us that flies bring diseases. Let's cover the fish. Even though it's a cultural practice, now we know that it's bringing us illness. Let us not say, oh, sa na eye no Ghana ha. Se saa na eye no na de bia ebre yare na emma yesika ekofoma na eko nyama ye de beko amano ne kra edru ho amosi omo ngi biom chese ye de Sudan dai efra engo kokon no ye de bibi efra vegetables no ye de bibi fra mekosam no ye de red color fra mekosam nti obi ampese e beto ye nyama ene ye be ne den enti yesre say ebe boy aduane ho bandie eya dia was yen taken very seriously with krum ha na nyina yen ye ya said say ebe boy aduane ho ban na ebe boa aman nyina.
Okay, thank you so much. So in the presentation, you've mentioned a few times about bloated, rusted, and dented cans. Can you explain to us why we should avoid these cans?
Okay, so with the bloated cans, bloating is when you see the can bulging outwards. Imagine a balloon. So you have the original size, and then when there's air pumped into it, it bulges. So that's what a bloated can looks like. When that happens, scientifically, it means there's something going on inside the can. Normally, a canned food would be dormant, in quotes. Permit me to use that word. The canned food will just be sitting in the can, nothing happening to it. As soon as you see bloating, it means something is happening in the can, hence causing the air. The bulge is because there's air in the can. Okay, whatever is happening in the can means that the food product is changing. Usually, it's due to microbial processes going on in the can, and it thus makes the food not very safe. It may cause illness to whoever eats it. It may cause some extremely harmful illnesses. And so that is bulging. That's what happens, or that's how we can explain what bulge cans, the effect bulge cans can have. When it comes to dented cans, the dent is, once again, you know the shape of the can. Denting is when there's like a kink, a bend anywhere on the can or around the can. So when this happens, usually it happens due to impact. Okay, so either the can was dropped or something hit the can. When this happens, several things can occur. First of all, you may have pinholes These are holes or gaps that you cannot see with the naked eye. If the can has what we call an easy open, the easy open is the thing on top that you just stick your finger in and then you peel off, and you don't need a can cutter or knife or anything to open it. So that's an easy open. If the can has that and it's been dropped and there's a dent, so you may not know that the can was dropped, but when you see the dent, then you know this was probably dropped or something hit it. There may be pinholes around the easy opening. Once there are holes, it means that air from the surrounding can get into the can. Now, cans are sealed. They are airtight for a reason. It's part of keeping its content safe. So once that pinhole occurs and air is going into the can, several things can happen, including reactions or including microbial activity, which can cause spoilage of the can's content. A second thing that can happen when a can is dented is that most cans have lacquers inside. A lacquer is a thin coating that protects, this lacquer is there to protect the material of the can. You know, cans are metal. So to protect the metal or to protect the food from coming into contact with the metal is to prevent this contact. And once there's a dent, there may be a kink or a scratch in the lacquer. Once that scratch occurs, the food and the metal now can come into contact and there may be a reaction which was initially prevented when the can was intact. Okay, this reaction can be dangerous depending on the food's content, the nature of the metal of the can. And with rusting, when the can is rusted, especially if it's rusty around the easy open area, the rust may affect whatever is in, or the easy open, the integrity of the seal, the easy opening, and that too can cause pinholes or air to go inside. These are the simple reasons we should avoid bloated, dented, or rusty cans.
Okay, thank you so much. Now, there are cases where people have gotten food poisoning from eating at facilities with FDA permits. What do you advise in this situation?
Okay. Now, as soon as anyone feels ill after consuming any food, we advise that you report to a health facility, a hospital, and give them your symptoms and get taken care of. When that is done, most of the health facilities would alert the FDA. However, you, the consumer who has been affected, or your family, can also alert the FDA that you've had such an incident. We would take the details of where you ate, what you ate, and we would investigate what caused your illness. There are several reasons we do the investigation. Of course, it will give you closure as to how you would eat from an FDA licensed facility and fall ill. But then it can also help prevent others from eating the same food and falling ill. It can prevent the facility from whatever wrong practice that caused the contamination which caused your illness. So we stop them from that practice. Maybe they are just not washing a chopping board properly. They are washing it, but they are not washing it properly. Maybe there's an issue with their water tank or their pipelines that they haven't noticed. So our investigations would uncover this and prevent it from recurring for other people to fall sick. Otherwise, we will have a national catastrophe. Okay.
Okay, that's well understood. Thank you so much, Madam Chibodi.
Thank you.
Thank you too for joining us today. Remember, flood water is not safe water, and making informed food safety choices can protect you and your loved ones from foodborne illnesses. For more food safety tips and updates from the Food and Drugs Authority, follow us on all our social media platforms: Facebook, X, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, everywhere. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channels. Stay informed, stay safe, And until next time, have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you.